Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another webinar today. We've got a really good one for you today. We're going to talk about Pinterest engagement. We're going to go over some overall Pinterest things. So don't worry if you're not too familiar with Pinterest. We are going to give you the quick 101, Pinterest 101. But what we're primarily going to focus on today is engaging with an audience on Pinterest. It seems to be that although Pinterest is wildly popular, it seems to be that it's one of the social networks where people kind of forget the engagement part of things, the talking back and forth with people and commenting and engaging on posts. So that's what we're going to discuss today, how you can make the most out of that. So a few bits of organizational things here. The way it's going to work is we're going to have Carol, our presenter, is going to give us all this great information she prepared for us. So she'll go through her presentation, and then we'll take some time at the end to have Q&A. So if you want to submit a question, definitely do so. There's two ways of doing it. I recommend you do it through the questions section in the GoToWebinar panel here, as opposed to the chat section. It's a little easier for us to organize and prepare your questions for the end. So, but definitely, as soon as you think of something, go ahead and submit it in the questions area, and I'll present those questions to Carol after her presentation. We'll try to get as many answered as we can. So real quick, if you haven't been on one of my webinars yet, thank you very much for being here. I'm Pam Unks with Pam Marketing. I'm a web traffic controller. I do all things digital marketing. And my guest today is Carol Stevens. Her company name is Your Social Media Works. I've known Carol for a long time. She's a very, very smart lady, and she really has caught the Pinterest wave and rode at the top of it. Ever since Pinterest became popular, Carol was like, I'm so amazed at how much she has, how she's made the most of, the Pinterest's popularity and really been able to use it effectively for herself and her clients. So that's why I asked her to be here today, because I'm very impressed with what she's been able to do with Pinterest. So with that, and real quick, I'm recording this today, so the people that had mentioned they couldn't make it at this exact time, we definitely are going to send this out to them afterwards. And if you're listening to the recorded version of this and you have questions, certainly just reach out to either Carol or myself by email. We'll give you our contact info at the end. And we will send out these slides by email to the attendees afterwards as well. So if you are feverishly trying to make notes and you'd rather just be able to download a copy of these slides, we'll get that to you afterwards. Okay, so with that, then I'm going to hand things over to Carol. Take it away, Carol.
Oh, hi, Pam. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you, Roxanne. She's working behind the scenes to help make everything smooth. This is the first webinar I've ever done, so hopefully I'll do okay. Anyway, I really appreciate having a chance to present here. So thank you again, Pam.
Absolutely, okay, my pleasure.
For the purpose of this webinar, I'm assuming everyone already has a Pinterest account set up. So I'm not going to go over how to set up an account here. You can Google how to set up a Pinterest account, and you'll find tons of different links on how to do that. If your account is set up for business, you can set it up a little differently, and I'm not going to go over that right now. There's a lot on account setup if you do a search on Google. So let's start at the beginning. Why should you be on Pinterest? First of all, Pinterest is driving more traffic than almost any other site right now. It's right behind Twitter as a referral source, and Pinterest users are there to get ideas and spend money. It's very, very sticky. So with that,
so you say, when you say referral, oh, sorry to jump in here. When you say referral traffic, you mean it's people that click on these pins get redirected to websites. So basically it drives traffic to websites, and that's how it makes people money, right?
That's right. And people may be using Pinterest to find ideas for weddings or for other things that they want to do in their private lives, or ways that they want to spend money, for example, on weddings, or if they want to buy jewelry, anything like that. They're spending money on Pinterest rather than spending money in other places on the web. So it's
That's
really good for that.
I never really thought about it like that. A lot of the times, the whole reason they're making a board or a collection on Pinterest is because they're collecting ideas for something they're going to spend money on.
That's right. So weddings are very popular, you'll see. Anything from shoes to a new car. People are looking on Pinterest for ideas. So it's a great tool for marketers. If you have something for sale, then Pinterest is the place to be. So let me just close this right now, sorry. Pinterest is also very, very sticky. So that means that people go there and they spend a lot of time there. They're not just there for a minute or two. Usually the people I talk to when they get onto Pinterest, they're there for hours at a time, and that is huge. I think a lot of people didn't realize in the beginning with Pinterest how popular it was going to be.
I will vouch for that. It is very addictive, very, very addictive.
Very addictive. It's almost like
it can be a huge time suck. Yes, huge time suck.
So Pinterest started in the Midwest, and it was mostly women in the beginning, and so I think for that reason it was under the radar for a lot of men. And now men are starting to catch up because they've realized that their wives, their girlfriends, their sisters are on Pinterest, and they're spending hours there, and so men are starting to take notice of that. I've heard that there has been a 15-fold increase to 139 million visits as it compared to 9.2 million in the same period the previous year. So traffic is way up on Pinterest.
Wow.
According to ComScore, Pinterest is the third most popular social network in the United States. They've had more than 23 million unique visitors and about 2 billion page views. And this is as of last year. I think this year is probably even more popular. It's really blown up. It's bigger than LinkedIn, and it drives as much referral traffic as Twitter.
Wow.
Recently, I got to hear Robert Scoble speak from Scobleizer in Mountain View, and he said he missed Pinterest. And he said it was because he's not a woman. Everybody laughed, but the point is that a lot of men really missed getting onto Pinterest, and they weren't paying attention to it. But now they really are. So that's something huge that's happening right now. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
Yeah, I still think of it as primarily female. I didn't realize that the demographics were shifting.
Oh, it really has shifted a lot now. So men are getting caught up. They're not quite caught up yet. I think it's still around 65% female.
Okay.
So it's a little more women than men, but men are catching up, and they're realizing that they can use Pinterest too.
That's pretty close to an even split. That's not nearly as much as it used to be.
Yeah, in the beginning it was 90-something%. So this is a huge shift.
Yeah. Wow. All right, cool. So what are we going to go over today?
Okay, so here's the overview. We're going to do how to find your audience, a little bit about the rules of engagement, long-term strategy, and then a little wrap-up. And, of course, I'm going to try to focus on engagement because that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I definitely think that is what people are missing out on the most with Pinterest. That's a golden opportunity as far as I'm concerned. That it's at least an area that no one seems to be covering. Like I see different articles on Pinterest and presentations on Pinterest, and not a lot of them focus on the engagement part of things. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about that for sure.
And again, here's a little reminder. Please submit your questions along the way, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. So, getting started. Okay, here are some of the ways that you can use Pinterest. Most people are visual, so people are using Pinterest to share ideas, and the people on Pinterest are very visual, so they're like super visual people. You can create a community here, and if content is king, visual content is queen. If you have ugly content, no one is going to like it or share it. So make sure that your content is beautiful. You can connect with people and create what I call a break room, and you can do this using humor or sharing your own personal ideas and interests there for other people to take a look at. And whether you're a brand or not, you can create community around any issue. So for example, if you're a dog groomer, you can have a board on different breeds of dogs, or how to adopt a dog, or how to use organic doggy shampoo, or funny outfits that people put on their dogs. That's one example. If you're into fitness, you can create a community of people who love spandex, who love running, who love weight loss products. I mean, you can just use your imagination about how and what you're going to share.
Is there anyone who loves spandex?
I guess there must be, because there's still a lot of people wearing it at the gym, I noticed.
Oh, let's hope that trend changes soon. Anyway.
You can connect with your potential clients and show that your brand does have a heart. So, for example, if your business does some work in the community behind the scenes, like volunteer work, Pinterest is a great place to share that. You can show your crew, you know, going out to the charity or even hanging out in a restaurant. That's a great way to show people behind the brand. You know, people want to do business with other people that they know, like, and trust. So this is a way to go and show that you're likable and you're trustworthy. I'm really big on...
I'm sorry, I was just going to say it's definitely an opportunity to show a little personality because of the visual element, and I like your idea of a break room per se, kind of like just a area for fun stuff related to your topic. Since Pinterest is such a time suck, it's almost like as a brand you could just capitalize upon that, like give people fun stuff and keep them on your board.
So draw them in. So, you know, if you're a lawyer, how about some lawyer jokes? You could have a whole board of that. Or if you're a driving instructor, you could have a board about animals driving in cars, or, you know, the ways that people paint their crazy cars. If you're a dentist, you could show how fun dentistry is. If you can make people laugh, then, you know, that's a great use of Pinterest.
That's great. I love those ideas.
Here's just a few of the basics. I know some of you already know this stuff, so bear with me. When you first join Pinterest, you're given some boards. So you can organize your material on the boards, but you don't have to keep the original boards. You can change them, delete them, and so on. I'd recommend taking a few minutes to decide at a really high level what kind of boards you would like to have. Maybe you can look around inside Pinterest, or, you know, see someone else in your line of work and see how they've organized their boards. Now, here's some ways that you can categorize your boards. You can think of some creative ways to name your boards, like maybe you could have Girls Just Want to Have Fun, or Weld Like a Pro if you're a welder, or Fun Dental Gadgets if you're a dentist. Just the title of your board alone can help to pull people in. So you can use humor there as well.
Oh, good point. Almost like a blog post, like the title of a blog post is so important to draw people in.
That's right. So, you know, don't use the same old things that everybody else uses. Try and be original there.
Good.
So a like on Pinterest is like a thumbs up on a pin. So you can click on a like underneath any pin. That's a quick way to interact with someone else. It's a good place to start if you're new to Pinterest. Now, a repin is where you're moving a comment from another Pinterest account to your own. So you can also move a pin from your own board farther up your own board if you're going to repin. And a pin is just a way to put content on one of your boards. So that's just a really quick.
So repin's kind of like copy and pasting something onto your own.
That's right. That's exactly right. So as far as your audience, probably most of you already know who your audience is, but I just wanted to go over this again because it seems like a lot of people forget who their audience is. So if they're men, women, younger, older. You know, you need to know who your audience is. Oh, that's my kitty cat, by the way, on the right.
Priscilla. Priscilla's famous. Priscilla has her own Twitter account.
Yeah, she does. But anyway, your audience, you need to know a little bit about them. Are they couples who like to travel? Are they like people who like to do day trips within the Bay Area? Are they younger women who like backpacking? Are they people who are fed up with their chiropractor? You know, what would somebody like this like to see on Pinterest? The clearer you are about who your audience is, the better it'll be for your Pinterest account and for your audience, too. I mean, I happen to like fashion and hairstyles and chocolate and funny pictures of cats, but if my audience is mostly technical and they're younger men who love cars, then guess what? I'm going to be pinning stuff about technology and cars. So put on a different hat when you get in there and pay attention to what takes off on your boards. If you notice that your pin on architecture is getting a lot of hits, then pin more of that content because that's what your audience likes.
That's always a good tip. You know, turn up the dial on what works. You know, focus your efforts on what works.
Sorry. Technical difficulties. Okay, now this is more personal about how I actually use Pinterest to engage. So one thing you'll notice is you'll get email notifications from Pinterest, and I like to check those every day. So I save them, and then I go back through each of my email notifications. In the beginning, it might drive you a little crazy, but you know, I try to connect with every person on there, and then I go back and tag people. So if someone repins one of my pins, I'll try to go to their board and see if I can like or repin or comment on one of their pins, so that this way I'm staying in touch with people who are really active.
Okay, so
even if somebody, sorry,
when
go ahead.
When you say that you go back and you tag them, first of all, give us a quick rundown on what it means to tag someone.
To tag somebody, you just type the @ sign, and then you start typing their name, and then Pinterest should autofill the rest of their name. So then
okay,
when
so it's very similar to Facebook, right?
Exactly. So then when their name comes up, you just click on their name, and then that will alert the person that, you know, that there's something there for them to see. So there's a dialogue going on.
Okay, I think that's the key thing with the tags is if you comment on somebody's pin, the original pinner will get notified. But let's say you are talking to someone else on someone else's pin, like the only way to get them that notification is to tag them, right?
That's right. And for somebody who has thousands of pins, they may not see it. Even if it's on their Pinterest account, they may not see your comment unless they actually go back through, scroll down, and look around. So
okay, so another reason
to tag people. And you can tag multiple people in the same comment. So sometimes I'll pin something and I'll say, hey, Bridget, this is for you, you know, and then she'll come and look at it. Otherwise, she might never see it.
Right, right.
So if you do that, that's a great way to create some engagement.
Okay, great. Yeah, I can see how that would make a big difference. And then just another comment on, you said you personally use email notifications to keep track of all of this. I think that some people may be overwhelmed by the idea of that, but I think the point is that, you know, you're trying to go above and beyond what everybody else is doing on Pinterest. So, yeah, it is, you know, quite a bit of work to monitor all these comments in this fashion, but that's your goal, is to have that much conversation going on so that you rise above everyone else on Pinterest, right?
That's right. You know, if you're not going to use Pinterest that much, then you can turn off email notifications. You know, if you're only going to get on there once a week, you know, I don't really recommend that for a brand, but if that's all you have, then you might want to turn off email notifications.
Gotcha. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point, though, is not to set it and forget it, as far as the topic we're covering today, engagement.
That's right. That's right. So, in the beginning, you might need to do a little more outreach, and what I mean by outreach is you're going to be actively going out and liking, repinning, or commenting on other people's pins. So it's probably going to be a little more work in the beginning when you get started with Pinterest. So don't worry too much that, it does get easier after a while.
That's good.
I like to set a certain amount of...
Sorry, I was just going to say one more thing. I think we have a little audio delay between us, so that's why it cuts you off when I try to say something. I'm trying to speak when you pause, but so sorry about that. But I think that the point in commenting on other people's stuff and reaching out to them and liking their stuff and whatnot, especially when you're first getting started, is kind of similar to any other social network where you're trying to build social equity, almost like give them a little bit of something, a little thumbs up, or like you said, just like give them a little something in order to build up a rapport with them, right?
That's right. And one thing you'll notice is that not very many people comment. If you comment, you're really going to stand out. So even if you're going to a big brand, you can get the attention of somebody at that big brand just by commenting.
Right.
That's one way you're going to really make yourself look different, is by commenting. So an important etiquette tip is when you're out there repinning stuff, please remember to include the website, or if there's a photographer, include that person. So that always helps everybody later. So remember that you wouldn't want somebody stealing your content and then putting their name on it. So try as much as possible to give credit where it's due.
Good point.
Another thing that I really like to do is try to make my boards as beautiful as possible, because this is a visual medium. So people really need to feel it when they see it. I try to choose the best pins as the covers, just like you were designing a book. Put the best cover on it. It really is visual.
So when you mention a cover, just in case someone's not quite to that level with Pinterest yet, it's basically one pin that you do as the featured pin for that board, right?
That's right. You can choose one to be the cover. Otherwise, I believe the last pin that you pin becomes the cover. But you can choose what you want other people to see.
Okay.
So one thing I like to do is try to make all the board covers match. This is a little maybe beyond basic, but sometimes I'll try to do all black and white pins, or each with a little bit of pink, or sometimes a little bit of red, because the people on there, like I said, they're very, very visual. So the prettier it is, the more beautiful it is, the more you're going to get repinned and the more attention you're going to get.
Wow, that's a great idea. I never heard of that, making all your covers, like synchronizing them in some way so that when someone first lands on your Pinterest, it gets that wow effect.
Exactly. That's exactly what you want. You want people to be hit emotionally when they you want them to say, whoa, when they come there, like, oh my God, I want to follow this person. This is fantastic.
Yeah, wow. I got to go look at mine now. Mine probably looks like a mess. I got to work on my covers.
Another little tip is don't have 200 boards with one pin on each board. That really looks spammy. You want to try to look as quote-unquote normal as possible. So if you have 30 to 40 boards, that's a good number. If you can have 20, that's even better. You can keep the number down, and that also helps you keep your sanity so you're not scrolling all over the place. Now, about repinning, you can repin a pin that gets a lot of attention. You can repin it to the top of your board, because older pins get pushed down. So if you repin it back, that can help you get more engagement.
I was going to ask you about that, because that's something that I always struggle with. Like, I put something that I think is awesome, and I pin it to Pinterest, and it gets some likes and it gets some repins right away. But then it kind of falls off the map, and I'm like, well, should I repin it? But then I have 2 copies of the same pin on the same board, so should I repin it and delete the original? Should I not delete the original? What do you recommend?
Well, if the original has a lot of likes and repins, then I would keep the original. But if it's way down at the bottom, then nobody's going to see it because people don't usually scroll down that far. So you can have it in 2 places on the same board, or you can even put it on a different board. So, for example, here's an example. Say you have a pin and you call it "Do-It-Yourself Mason Jar Wedding Candle." It could be anything. That pin could go on a bunch of different boards. So if you know that it's going to be popular, you could put it on your mason jar board if you have one. You could create a wedding board and stick it over there. You might also have a candle board. You might have one board that says saving money or being frugal or low-cost wedding. So if you have that pin and you know it's going to be popular, you can pin it to a different board.
Oh, that's a good idea. And maybe give it some time in between each one to extend the life of that one pin, right?
That's right. That's right. There's also when to pin. Now, some people are really religious about this. I'm not that religious, but between 8 and 4 is the best time to pin. Thursday, Friday, and Sunday nights, for some reason, those are the most popular times. Like Sundays are the most crazy busy times on Pinterest. So
really,
if you have something, that you think will go viral, just wait and pin it on Sunday. But in the beginning, I wouldn't really worry that much about timing. I would just spend some time on Pinterest, get used to it, start liking things a little bit, and move into it slowly.
Gotcha. Good advice. Hey, Carol, I don't know if are your computer speakers on? I don't know if it's just me, but I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. Maybe that's part of our audio unsyncing. If they're on, maybe you could just turn them down and see if that helps.
Let me see. I can turn, I'm on my phone, so let me turn that down a little.
Okay.
See that.
Oh, don't worry about it too much. It's just a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Go on.
Okay, so as far as long-term success, Pinterest is just like any other form of social media. It takes a little time to build relationships. It's not going to happen overnight. Set aside a little time every day, just like going to the gym. It's better to do something every day and not just one day a week for 8 hours.
Even if I only go to the gym one day a week, it's not going to do anything?
You'll get really sore the following day. That's about all. Yeah, so it takes a little time to build a relationship, just like in real life. You might meet someone in real life. You might follow them on Twitter. You might be connected on Pinterest. So spend some time to build a relationship. Say hello, and don't just push your products or services onto people as soon as you meet them. It's not going to happen overnight. I'd say try to develop friendships and, just get out there and have some fun. Okay, so again, Pinterest is great for creating community. It's great for connecting through humor. Use visuals, make everything as pretty as possible because that's why people are there, to be inspired. Figure out who your audience is and put the hat on of the person who's running that show. Don't make it all about you. Make it about who your audience is. And then, again, the rules of engagement, we just went over that. And I would like to open it up to questions.
Okay, great. So if anyone has a question, we have a question came in already. I have a question too. If anyone else has questions, please submit. Now is the time to ask Carol a question about Pinterest. I wanted to ask, with the engagement part of things, you mentioned connecting with other users and building relationships. How do you even start finding the people that you are going to, target? Like, how do you decide who to target? How do you find them? Where do you begin as far as selecting users to engage with?
Well, that depends on the type of business you're in. I mean, if you're there just for fun, then you can also just find people by doing a search within Pinterest. Say you're just into dogs and you want to find other people who like dogs. Then just do a search on dogs. Or maybe you have a specific breed that you like. You like Labradoodle. So do a search on Labradoodle. You will find all kinds of stuff.
Okay, so that's basically whether you're doing it for fun or you're doing it for business, it's the same thing, right? Basically, it's used as a search tool. That's the starting point, right? Think about who you want to connect with and what they're interested in and search for it, right?
That's right. And community boards are great for people who are trying to build a community. And you can, there are tons of community boards around dogs, around just about anything on Pinterest. You can start your own, or you can join.
So one way of finding boards and a certain topic is to use the search feature, but there's hashtags on Pinterest too, right?
Yes, just like on Twitter, you can use a hashtag. A hashtag is the pound sign, and that can help you with your search. So you can use a hashtag within your own comments when you pin something, and you can also do it when you're searching.
Okay, so you can search on a hashtag, or you can add a hashtag to your pins, and a hashtag is the same as on Twitter. It's basically just a word with the number or number pound or hash sign, whatever you want to call it, in front of it. But you can just click it. Like if you, so let's say you looked up Labradoodles and you found a cool pin, and you see that they hashtagged it pound sign dog breeds. You can just click on that, and then you'll find all the other pins on Pinterest that are hashtagged.
That's right. It's similar to Twitter.
Right?
When there's a hashtag and a word on Twitter, you can click on it, and then it's like an automatic search. You will find, every other hashtag with that word behind it lined up.
So you can make that right. So you can make that like part of your strategy, right? Like you're going to target a certain set of hashtags, and so maybe on Monday you explore this hashtag, dogs. On Tuesday you explore the cats hashtag. On Thursday,
That's right.
That's right. You can kind of
I thought that might be a little more advanced for this webinar, but yes, you can have a daily strategy, and I recommend that too. For all my social media, I have daily strategies where, I'm concentrating on a particular topic per day, and that can keep you from losing your mind.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so getting back to what I originally asked, though, I mean, you're suggesting to connect with other users and comment on their stuff and have conversations with them, but the way to find those users from the get-go is really to use the search tool and to explore hashtags, right?
That's right, and you might also look at, who's friends, like a friend of a friend, just like if you're at a party and you meet somebody and then you meet their cousin and, their sister, and so you can also make friends that way.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah, so explore the followers of the people that you're following.
Yeah, so I could go to Pam's Pinterest account and say, hey, I wonder who she's friends with and who is she talking to, and go over there and look around.
Gotcha. That's a good tip, too.
That's a good way to find other people who are really active, because just because someone has a lot of followers doesn't mean they're active.
Good point, yeah, because you're going to be wasting your time if you're commenting on somebody's stuff like crazy and they are not the type that pays attention to their comments on Pinterest, right?
Well, just like on Twitter, you can buy followers on Pinterest, so having thousands of followers doesn't necessarily mean engagement. But they connect with active users. So that's why saving your email notifications, those are the people who are really active. Take a look at those people.
Gotcha. So you want to focus on the people that you see them commenting and, doing and having conversations with others.
That's right. So someone with, say, only 15 followers might be more active than somebody who has 5,000.
Gotcha. Good point. All right, we have a lot of questions focused on SEO. What do you know about how Pinterest affects SEO? I know one of the specific questions is, doesn't the title of a Pinterest board help SEO? From what I've looked into, the title of the board does, because Google tends to rank Pinterest boards sometimes even higher than websites about that topic, because Pinterest is a very reputable site. And, Google doesn't know, Google has a million factors it has to evaluate to figure out if a regular old website about a certain topic is reputable, but, Google already knows that Pinterest is reputable. So they index Pinterest's content. So I know that keywords come into play there. From what I've seen, I don't think that hashtags on Pinterest necessarily boost SEO as much as they used to, although all the words overall in your Pinterest activity will make a kind of a theme to your Pinterest boards that, and then the board may rank because of the support of the words there. But what do you know about it? It's vague. It is vague because, you know, of course Google keeps their algorithms as the top secret. And
yeah. Yeah, I'm really not an SEO expert, but I do know that it can affect your SEO and that board titles are important. And if you have some topic that's different from it, you know, say your topic is traveling to Croatia, you might be able to own that topic if nobody else is pinning stuff about Croatia.
Right, right. Yeah, I know that when Pinterest first came out, they had the links that went back to the website. So like all this stuff that's, or no, I shouldn't say all, a lot of the stuff that's pinned on Pinterest has a source website that it comes from. I mean, you can just take a photo from your computer and upload it to Pinterest, and then that's not linked to a website. But most of the pins are linked to a website, and in the beginning, those links were followed links. There's two types of links when it comes to SEO. There's followed and no follow, and basically it does it count or does it not count? It's much more complicated than that, but to summarize very briefly, you know, a link that counts versus a link that doesn't count, at first they had followed links, and they counted, so it counted a lot towards your SEO, but then they changed that. They added the no follow tag in their coding, so all Pinterest links are no follow now. But so it doesn't necessarily do that much for your website as far as link building, but it pins our social signals, and Google definitely looks at social signals as far as determining how reputable content is. If something has a lot of likes, retweets, +1s, shares on LinkedIn, and pins on Pinterest, then Google knows that piece of content is valuable. So in that way, as far as, you know, giving social credibility to a piece of content, Pinterest can help with SEO that way, I know.
I'm glad you took that question because I really don't know SEO.
Well, yeah, sorry, I did just kind of ramble on about that when I meant to ask you, but you've heard similar things, though, right? You know,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so basically almost all the questions that came in were focused on SEO. So does anyone have questions about Pinterest and engaging on Pinterest aside from the SEO aspect of things? I wanted to ask you, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but just want to double check, and it might be helpful to the listeners. The new business profiles on Pinterest, you know, they allow you to make a business profile. What are the differences, if any, between a business profile and a personal profile, especially when it comes to engagement? Like, because I know on Facebook, if you have a Facebook business page, you can't interact with an individual. You can't, like, comment, you know, like me as Pam Ann Marketing business page on Facebook, I can't comment on your personal picture of Priscilla, your cat. You know, that I can't do that cross, you know, personal to business engagement. But on Pinterest, you can, right?
I believe you can. And you can also, if you have a personal account, you can convert that to a business account pretty easily.
Okay, and as far as I've seen, there's really not that much difference between a personal and business account, right? It's just kind of identifying yourself as a business instead of identifying yourself as an individual, right?
That's right. Yeah, and you can put your website up there, and you can also put your other forms of social media up there, you know, like a link to Twitter or Facebook.
Yeah, okay. All right, so yeah, okay, more questions coming in. Great. Brian would like to know, will Pinterest own the pictures you post if they don't have a watermark?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. You know, I don't really know about that, but I've heard things like that. I've heard that about Instagram as well, that they can use the pictures, but I see a lot of it's not watermarked.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. I don't have the exact answer either, but from what I've heard, the whole copywriting and owning of intellectual property thing overall, I mean, the original creator of the content is the owner. Just because you share it on Pinterest or you share it on Twitter or you share it on Facebook or wherever you share it, I'm fairly certain, I'm no lawyer, but I'm fairly certain that in general that doesn't affect your copyright rights to the content.
That's the same thing that I heard too. And in the beginning, people were really up in arms about sharing content. A lot of people got off Pinterest because they thought they were going to be sued. And from what I've heard, I have not heard of any lawsuits like that. Have you?
Okay. No, I haven't. And I think the only reason that Instagram had such a hoopla is because they did change their terms to say, we own the content you share here. Of course, they quickly reverted that when people
That's right. I remember
uproar. But I think that's why there was an uproar, because that's so not status quo. I mean, Facebook doesn't do that. Twitter doesn't do that. Google doesn't do what's LinkedIn, YouTube. They don't claim, all those social networks don't claim to own your content. So I think that's why there was the uproar when Instagram tried to say that they will, which they quickly reverted. So I'm pretty sure that no, pinning something on Pinterest doesn't affect your rights to the copyright or the intellectual property.
No, and in fact, for one of my clients, I had a case where they stole one of our pictures and they used it. And so if you contact Pinterest, they're pretty fast about taking stuff like that down.
Oh, so you had a client who posted a picture of their product and then someone else pinned it and claimed it as their own?
Yes.
Wow. And you were able to report that to Pinterest, and they did something about it?
Yeah, and it was really fast.
Wow, that's
so
great.
They get a mark as a spammer if they do that.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know.
I was really impressed with their customer service.
Okay, great. So if someone is kind of trying to improperly use your content, you can report it to Pinterest. That's good that they have that option.
Yeah, right. And they have a form, and all the forms that they have that I've seen so far, they have the legalese, and then they also have it, quote-unquote, translated into regular English so you know what it means, which I love.
That is helpful.
Yeah.
Cool, very cool. All right. Roxanne would like to know if you recommend deleting pins if they don't get repinned.
Yes. If they don't
get liked. Why?
Because when you want somebody, when they come to your board, to see that, it's a little bit like high school, you want to be popular. So, if you have a board and you want it to get a lot of traffic, you can take it down, take down pins that aren't getting any traffic, and delete them.
Okay, I see what you mean. I guess it kind of water down the look of your overall presence if you have a lot of unpopular stuff on your boards, right?
Yeah, it may be that it went up at the wrong time. Sometimes I'll repin stuff to the top and take down something else that didn't get any traffic, and it might get repinned hundreds of times just because it's different. It's Sunday. And people
all right. So maybe not give up on that pin entirely, but just try again with it another time, or maybe on another board, right?
Put it on a different board. You could put it up to, if it's a very popular board with a lot of pins on it and it just got buried at the bottom, move it up to the top.
Okay. Now, when you say a very popular board, just to clarify, because I don't think we covered this, people can follow some of your boards, but not all of them, right?
That's right. You can just follow one board or two boards. You don't have to follow everything that someone has.
Okay, so you may have some of your boards be more popular than other boards, so if a pin didn't really succeed on one board, maybe try it on a more popular board with more followers.
Yes, you can do that.
Okay, good to know. Okay, a couple more questions. Does Pinterest mind how many accounts you have? For example, a personal account, a community account, a business account, etc.?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any limit. I think it's sort of like Twitter that way.
Okay, but you do have to have each one tied to a unique email address, right? Like you can't have a personal and a business signed up with the same email address?
I believe so. I think you need to have a different address. And it would just make things easier if you had a different address anyway.
Right, right.
So the notifications come in, you would know where they were coming from.
Okay. Gotcha. So is there any scenario where you would recommend having totally different Pinterest accounts versus different Pinterest boards? So for example, like me as an online marketing agency, I offer different services. I offer, SEO and social marketing and email marketing, and like, is there any reason for me to make like, the Pam Ann marketing email marketing account, like, or just, I don't think that for a small business there's any reason to split that amongst multiple accounts versus multiple boards. Maybe like a really big business that has
I think for you they couldn't be, but say somebody started selling car insurance on the side and, their other job was SEO, then I would say yes, because they're so different.
Okay, all right. So that's the clarifying factor is, when it's different enough, then you might want to have a different account.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, we have a few more minutes for questions. So last call, anyone want to ask Carol or myself a question, submit it now. And again, if you're listening to this as the recording, you can certainly reach out to us. Carol, why don't you just, we're going to take a few more questions, but why don't you go to that last slide where you have your email address so people, if they're listening to the recording and they have a question, there's Carol's email address. So carol@yoursocialmediaworks.com. And mine, if you want to reach out to me, is pam@pamannmarketing.com. So if you're listening to this and you didn't have a chance to submit your question live, certainly reach out to us. Carol, you also have a special offer for the listeners today, right?
That's right. If you would like to talk about your own Pinterest, if you're just getting started, if you want some pointers on strategy, I'm happy to talk to you for 30 minutes. So just shoot me an email and let me know, and that's for the
great.
webinar.
Great. I would take advantage of that. I may take advantage of that with you, actually. Because, yeah, Carol really knows her stuff as far as Pinterest goes. So, take advantage of that. Picking her brain is, I'm sure it would be worth your time. All right. So we have another question. How do you join a community board?
Just go to the board, and you can follow any board, unless it's a private board. Go ahead and follow the board. And if you want to be allowed to pin to the board, usually there's an email up in the header, and you can send an email to the owner of the board and ask if they will allow you to pin to the board.
Okay, so how do you tell if it is a community board versus a non-community board?
Well, you can see a bunch of different people listed up at the top of the board.
Okay.
That's one way to tell. But I just wanted to say that for somebody just starting out, it's a great way to get engagement because, say I have something to sell, like say I'm selling jewelry that I made myself. And if I'm just getting started, I might only have, say, 10 followers, right? But if you are on a community board that has thousands of people seeing the stuff on that board, then it's in your best interest to join community boards. And I would suggest joining community boards that have at least 2,000 active members. So by active, go, look around on the board and see if things are being repinned, liked, commented on. That would really help you.
That's a lot of followers. That does seem like a pretty easy way to get some action going quickly, is to join a real popular board.
An entrepreneur, you're working for yourself, say, and that's a great way to really boost your engagement fast, is get on community boards.
Good tip. Is there a way to search for community boards? Like when you're doing your searching, is there a way to narrow it down and say, only show me community boards?
Right now there isn't, as far as I know, within Pinterest, but if you go to Google, you can search. And I found a few sites, there's Pinterest.com/bestboards, so you can do that, but the best way is just to look around yourself, do a search within.
Oh, okay, so, or go to Google and search for, community Pinterest board about cats and see what comes up.
Right.
Okay, all right, cool, good tip.
Yeah, so, make sure there's a lot of engagement. And then on every community board, there's usually rules, so make sure you follow the rules. So they'll ask you not to spam, of course, and There may be a limit to how many pins you can do per day.
Oh,
But
really? So each community board owner, I guess, sets up the rules. Like, I'm on a few community boards, but I didn't even notice the rules section. I guess I should pay attention to that more.
Yeah, it should be right up in the profile at the top. You know,
Wow, okay, cool.
Yeah, how you join,
Good to know.
what to do, what not to do, how many pins you can have, for example. You know, because if there's thousands of pinners all pinning 100 pins a day, that's going to seem spammy.
Right, yeah, gotcha. Wow, so yeah, there has to be some rules then. Wow, you really know your Pinterest stuff. Well, I knew that already, but I was impressed as always in talking with you about this.
Well, thank you.
And the audience was impressed as well. We got some nice comments. It's an excellent presentation. So that is, thank you again for joining us today. Like Carol said, she's given an offer to webinar guests only, free 30-minute private Pinterest consultation. I would highly recommend taking advantage of that. I think that'll be well worth your half an hour worth of time. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And like I said, if you have any questions afterwards, you know where to find us. And we will be sending out the recording by email to the people who registered, as well as this slide deck if you would like to have that. Look for an email in the next 24 hours or so with that information in it. So enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you on the next webinar. Oh, I should mention what the next webinar is. Next webinar next week is, it's titled, How I Can Hack Your WordPress Website in 5 Minutes and What You Can Do About It.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so excited for this one.
I'm getting scared already.
Such a geek I am, but it's actually going to be my guest is going to be Dre Armeda of Sucuri, and he is going to perform a live WordPress hack for us. We get to watch him hack a WordPress website. It's going to be so cool, but more importantly, you're going to find out how to lock down your site and make it so that people can't do that to you. So definitely stay on the email list to receive the information about how to register for that webinar, which is coming up next Wednesday.
Thank you
so
much.
Carol, do you have any events that you want, anything else coming up you want to let us know about?
I'm going to be speaking locally here in San Mateo on May 10th on Twitter, but you know, I'll send that out later.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Thanks so much, Carol, and thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Pam.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.